I'd like you to close your eyes with me just for a minute. I think I'll leave mine open. But close your eyes. I'd like you to take one of your children, your first maybe, and I want you to go back when they were just a baby, maybe just newborn. Maybe you brought them home from the hospital, or maybe it was in that first year sometime. You can picture in your mind some wonderful things about them. Just picture their face. Just take a minute now. Think about that. What do you think about? What comes to your mind? What image comes to your mind? I have a particular picture of my oldest son, Dave, in my mind when he was just a little guy, under a year, and he's got the biggest smile on his face and the biggest eyes. He's ready to face the world. Dave really liked to be the center of attention. He enjoyed that thoroughly and still does. But I was fascinated by everything. Maybe you can think about that too. Think back again. Think about the things that fascinated you when your children were one or under. You know, there were those first noises, the first smile. Oh, didn't we love that? Then there were they started to make sounds, and then they started to crawl. And before you know it, they were up walking and actually forming words. They made expressions, noises, all kinds of things that were so intriguing and fascinating. We were enthralled with them when they were kids, weren't we? What a great time. I'm a grandparent now, so I have had the opportunity to do this all over again, which is one of the wonderful things about being a grandparent, is we get a chance to do it all over again. Isn't that something? Without some of the responsibilities, just a lot of the joys and some of the responsibilities investing in their lives as well. But what a great thing to start over and have a chance once again, without some of the pressures of being a new parent, to enjoy and be fascinated by our kids. What a wonderful thing. Now then, somewhere in that 1 to 2 age, they start to get a little more mobile. And if they're an energizer type of kid, which my second grandson is, then before you know it, they are into everything. They're climbing up on everything. They're opening up everything. They go into a room. They dump the toys. Before you know it, you think, well, a tornado hit this room. What happened? Within just a short period of time. And so we have to start setting some boundaries, some limits, help them learn to follow instructions, take no for an answer. Not an easy thing to do. So we move from just being fascinated now to looking at the things that need a little correction, redirection, or just things that are downright need to be stopped. That is natural. That's a shift. That's really the first shift in our parenting. We have to set boundaries, rules, limits, and we have to start to correct our children because things they do are dangerous. Dangerous. Have you seen the video where the mom is coming home and she's opening the garage door? She's attending to her older child, and the younger one's latched onto the handle, and the garage door is going up, and the child's going up. Kids can get into trouble so fast, we can't take our eyes off them. So we have to parent in that way. Now, we continue that parenting throughout their younger years, up until they're 8, 9, or 10, and that works pretty well. We have to help set the rules. Hopefully, we're starting to parent their strengths, play to their strengths as well in that time period. But our job is to create an environment where we help establish the values, the limits, the rules in their lives that help everybody function, not just them. Everybody functions. When children learn those basic rules and they develop some fundamental character qualities in that part of their life, it benefits everyone. But now we come to the years that are 8, 9 sometimes, 9, 10, 10, 11. The preteen years, kids are hitting adolescence, puberty earlier than ever. So we used to think about these things at 12 or 13. Don't wait that long. Don't wait that long. These things will start to creep in. And we know a lot about this phase of life in terms of the physical things that happen, the changes in the body that are going to take place. We are most likely are pretty good at explaining some of those things. One of the areas where we don't do a very good job is helping our children understand what's happening to their emotions and their brain. The brain is changing, and we don't talk about that very much. I think most parents don't even know what's going on. Let's talk more about these changes that are happening as our kids move from childhood to adulthood. The changes that are happening are pretty dramatic. We know about the ones in the body, but the brain and their sense of themselves, who they are, their identity are changing as well. When they're young and they're children, their life is mostly their family, somewhat at school, but they find their values, their rules, their do's and don'ts, various other things in their family life. And so they find their place in the family. As they grow, they become more and more interested in their place in the larger community, in the broader tribe. Where do I fit? And so they look for feedback. They look for feedback from others. What are my strengths? What am I good at? Where do I fit? Who do I like? What group of people do I most fit with? Those kind of questions are really significant for our young people, and they're stressful because there's a lot of, I don't know. Will I fit? Do I have what it takes? And so this is a time for them of stress, and wondering if they fit in. If our kids at that age are on social media, it just makes it worse. We're going to talk about that at another time. Bullying is a part of that stress for many kids. Kids can be so cruel to each other. And again, social media has made it easy to bully people, and for groups of people to bully people then to get on the bandwagon on social media, whereas it didn't used to be that easy to do. Stress. Another factor of stress is just the area of, schoolwork. And again, what am I good at? Can I be good enough? Can I be good enough to please my parents? Can I be good enough to make friends? Will I fit in? Do I have what it takes? Stress. I don't think we even know how much stress our kids are under. I like to say that our kids they're constantly on stage because they're just always looking to present an image that will be well received by others. And what pressure that provides for them to always be on and not make a mistake, not slip up, and thus get bullied or put down. I can't even imagine it. Now, let's really get to the brain. Here's a couple other things that are happening at the same time. The same time that puberty sets in, the brain starts to grow, and particularly the part of the brain that's down a little bit deeper inside the brain, called the amygdala. And that is the part that regulates, controls emotions, where emotions come from, as well as defensive thoughts, fight, flight, things like that, all down there. This is growing rapidly, becoming mature. And young people are feeling emotions strongly. And they're feeling impulses, and they don't know what to do with them. They can't really control it. They don't know why they're getting so angry, but they're getting all up and angry, frustrated, because the amygdala is on fire. It's really lighting up. Now, at the same time, the frontal cortex of the brain is still very immature. It doesn't really fully develop till 25 and 30, some people are now saying. So what we have is that we have an on-fire emotional center and an immature frontal cortex, and that's the part that regulates and balances those strong emotions and impulses. Logic, critical thinking, caution, all those kinds of things we call also executive function. Those are the areas that are weak in the adolescent brain. So an on-fire amygdala, and then you add in the frontal cortex that is weaker and not mature enough to really handle it. That's a problem. is why young people, you need other people in your lives, mature, who can help take the place of that weaker frontal cortex and help provide you with the wisdom and insight that you need to survive and not make some really stupid decisions and based on your impulses. Now, add in modern technology, and we've got an even bigger problem. I'm not going to talk about this at great length because I have a separate session on modern technology and the screens epidemic. But let's just say this. I woke up one morning a few years ago to all kinds of sirens and lights flashing, 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. I never saw so many lights in my life as I saw outside. And it turns out the house just 2 houses down was on fire. And I think every fire engine and police car came to the scene, and they were hooking up their hoses, trying to get things ready. The fire was fairly small, wasn't too big yet. It was burning, but that's like the amygdala. The amygdala's, it's burning. Lots of intensity, lots of flame, lots of heat being generated. You probably know what I'm talking about when you felt that heat when something's about to explode in your emotions. Now, they're going to try to put water. They're going to try to get as much water as they can. They started wetting down the house next door. They want to start putting water on the fire. And the water is like what the frontal lobe of the brain does. It kind of settles those emotions down, keeps them under control, and eventually squashes them so that we can then think rationally and make decisions and judgments. Technology is particularly time spent on screens. They talk about time on screens. Screen time stimulates the brain in such a way it's a pleasure thing, and an alertness thing, and it stimulates the brain, and it stimulates the amygdala to have these good feelings and be alert, but it really stresses out the brain at the same time. Again, I'll go into that more, but it's just like spending a lot of time on screens, like being addicted to alcohol, gambling, drugs, pornography, anything like that. It stimulates the brain in the same way, and it causes a lot of stress. So the body has to send more help there. It sends a lot of blood there, and the frontal lobe that's going to try to control that gets less, and it diminishes, it shrinks if our kids spend a lot of time on screens. This stimulation is like throwing gas. Rather than throwing water on the flames of that burning house down the street, imagine dumping gas. Well, even before they got the water on this fire, I was amazed at how fast that fire exploded. Just before they really got the water on it, it was burning like crazy. I was glad it wasn't my house, but I was very grateful that they were able to get it under control. Imagine what it'd be like if gasoline was thrown on that fire. So I want you to think about this just a minute. Now think about your children, especially if you have children who are 9, 10. You need to have a plan to prepare them for what's going to happen to them. It's going to be a challenge for you. It's going to be a challenge for them. But helping them have a plan is going to be key. So we need a plan. We need a plan. And parents at this point tend toward one of two extremes. One is they keep parenting just like they have all along, and they keep focusing on rules and boundaries. They make the plan and they enforce the plan or force the plan on their teenager. It's all done with good intent, for the most part, done to protect our children. But remember what's happening to them. They are trying to find their place. They need to find their place, and they need the input of others. It's critical for them. The other extreme is that they get so frustrated that they just say, okay, I can't do anything with this kid. I'm done. And I know frustration and despair sets in for parents, many parents, and they say, I can't handle this. I can't wait till they're 18. They're out of the house. They're on their own. That's not great either. There is a middle road. This is the shift I'm talking about. This approach when they're younger, an approach of teaching, training, correcting, is one aspect of parenting. Another aspect of parenting is the inspiring, enabling, and envisioning part of parenting. Helping prepare our young people for the future, the kind of people that they want to be and that we want them to be. And that requires partnership, enabling in the good sense, equipping, empowering, all those good words, requires us to partner with them. Now think about it for a minute. They are now on a journey to become an adult. We don't want to keep them as a child. We don't want them to still have to depend upon us for everything. We want them to learn to take responsibility for their own life. And so we need to begin to give them responsibility. Not fully, because they still need us. They need input and help. In fact, they don't need more than just us. I said earlier that young people desperately need mentors in their lives. Dr. Kara Powell says they need 5 key people in their lives to bring hope, guidance, nurture, and love and encouragement to them. They need that, okay, because their frontal lobe, their frontal cortex is not ready to handle all those emotions so that they're not just so impulsive. But we need to shift to partnership. And I like to say the easiest way to describe the shift is we put relationship over rules. Relationship over rules. Building relationship, coming alongside of our kids and empowering them toward a growth, toward the future, is the primary goal or emphasis for a parent of a young teen, a preteen, or a teenager. We can come alongside of them and saying, I know how tough this is, and I want to support you. I fundamentally don't want to nag you and be your conscience. I want to help you to develop your conscience and other character qualities that can help you make decisions. And that involves in strengthening that frontal cortex of the brain. But there's a lot of things that we can do to strengthen that frontal cortex. But it happens within relationship. The objection is often raised at this point, well, I don't want to be my child's friend. I want to be their parent. And I understand where that's coming from. It's coming from the angle of the very lenient parents who just want to be buddy-buddy with their kids and don't want to ever draw lines or push them in any way. I understand that. But real impact, if you're going to empower somebody, inspire them to something, cast vision, you have to do it within a relationship where there's trust. If there's no trust, then you can scream rules or you can push in many ways, and you won't get anywhere because the other person just digs in their heels. It has to be relationship, connection, trust, and that happens if we do those things. The 3 pathways are designed to develop and nurture the frontal lobe of the brain. Did a whole session on strengths, how focusing on strengths together in partnership helps us prepare our young people for their place in the world, their identity, their mission in the world. Connection, really being able to connect and have empathy and sympathy and compassion for one another, is so critical. That's the second pathway. Hopefully you have that as you develop these strengths. You open up to other things and share life together. And then the third is character. We can have strengths and do some really terrible things with those strengths. Character is what we use, the wisdom that we bring to bear to make right decisions, the discipline to work hard, the determination. These are all character qualities that are critical. Compassion, caring for other people. I will share one example with you, and this is a great thing. I did this with a young man that I was coaching, mentoring, 13, 14-year-old, and for his birthday I said, okay, we're going to do whatever you want, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of options, but you're going to pick which one. We can play tennis, we can play soccer, we can ride motorcycles, we can do a bunch of different things, we can take a hike, and I said, or we can canoe under the city of Trenton. Well, for a young boy, this was extremely intriguing. And he said, well, what? And his father was listening. He said, that sounds cool. And his mom was listening. She said, what? She was scared about what that might look like. If you'd like to know more about that, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. But that's what he chose. And we went canoeing under the city of Trenton. Phenomenal. What a phenomenal adventure. And I let him plan it. He planned when we're going to do it. It was great. So watch this short video to end here. This is a great suggestion to do with your teenager to build the relationship.
This is another tip that'll help you connect with your son or daughter on a heart level. Set a date to do something together and let them choose the activity. Even more than that, let them make the plan for the entire day. Allow them to lead. Resist the temptation to correct and warn, unless of course there is real danger.